I'm going to now read an excerpt from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the third in the seven-part series of the Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling, and this happens to be my favorite of all the seven books. I'm going to be reading from some of my favorite passages. I'll be reading from the beginning of chapter 19, The Servant of Lord Voldemort. Hermione screamed. Black leapt to his feet. Harry jumped as though he'd received a huge electric shock. "I've found this at the base of the Whomping Willow," said Snape, throwing the cloak aside, careful to keep his wand pointing directly at Lupin's chest. "Very useful, Potter, I thank you." Snape was slightly breathless, but his face was full of suppressed triumph. "You're wondering perhaps how I knew you were here," he said, his eyes glittering. "I've just been to your office, Lupin. You forgot to take your potion tonight, so I took a goblet full along, and very lucky I did. Lucky for me, I mean. Lying on your desk was a certain map. One glance at it told me all I needed to know. I saw you running along this passageway, and out of sight." "Severus," Lupin began, but Snape overrode him. "I've told the headmaster again and again that you've been helping your old friend Black into the castle, Lupin, and here's the proof. Not even I dreamed you would have the nerve to use this old place as your hideout." "Severus, you're making a mistake," said Lupin urgently. "You haven't heard everything. I can explain. Sirius is not here to kill Harry." "Two more for Azkaban tonight," said Snape, his eyes now gleaming fanatically. "I shall be interested to see how Dumbledore takes this. He was quite convinced you were harmless, you know, Lupin. A tame werewolf." "You fool," said Lupin softly. "Is a schoolboy grudge worth putting an innocent man back inside Azkaban?" Bang! Thin snake-like cords burst from the end of Snape's wand and twisted themselves around Lupin's mouth, wrists, and ankles. He overbalanced and fell to the floor, unable to move. With a roar of rage, Black started towards Snape, but Snape pointed his wand straight between Black's eyes. "Give me a reason," he whispered. "Give me a reason to do it, and I swear I will." Black stopped dead. It would have been impossible to say which face showed more hatred. Harry stood there paralyzed, not knowing what to do or who to believe. He glanced around at Ron and Hermione. Ron looked just as confused as he did, still fighting to keep hold of the struggling Scabbers. Hermione took an uncertain step towards Snape and said in a very breathless voice, "Professor Snape, it wouldn't hurt to hear what they've got to say, would it?" "Miss Granger, you're already facing suspension from the school," Snape spat. "You, Potter, and Weasley are out of bounds in the company of a convicted murderer and a werewolf. For once in your life, hold your tongue." "But if there was a mistake..." "Keep quiet, you stupid girl," Snape shouted, looking suddenly quite deranged. "Don't talk about what you don't understand." A few sparks shot out of the end of his wand, which was still pointing at Black's face. Hermione fell silent. "Vengeance is very sweet," Snape breathed at Black. "How I hoped I would be the one to catch you." "The joke's on you again, Severus," snarled Black. "As long as this boy brings his rat up to the castle," he jerked his head at Ron, "I'll come quietly." "Up to the castle?" said Snape silkily. "I don't think we need to go that far. All I have to do is call the Dementors once we get out of the Willow. They'll be very pleased to see you, Black. Pleased enough to give you a little kiss, I dare say." What little color there was in Black's face left it. You've got to hear me out," he croaked. "The rat! Look at the rat!" There was a mad glint in Snape's eye that Harry had never seen before. He seemed beyond reason. "Come on, all of you." He clicked his fingers. And the end of the cords that bound Lupin flew to his hands. "I'll drag the werewolf. Perhaps the Dementors will have a kiss for him, too." Before he knew what he was doing, Harry had crossed the room in 3 strides and blocked the door. "Get out of the way, Potter. You're in enough trouble already. If I hadn't been here to save your skin..." "Professor Lupin could have killed me about 100 times this year," Harry said. "I've been alone with him loads of times having defense lessons against the Dementors. If he was helping Black, why didn't he just finish me off then?" "Don't ask me to fathom the way a werewolf's mind works," hissed Snape. "Get out of the way, Potter." "You're pathetic," Harry yelled. "Just because they made a fool of you at school, you won't even listen." "Silence!" "I will not be spoken to like that," Snape shrieked, looking madder than ever. "Like father, like son, Potter. I have just saved your neck. You should be thanking me on bended knee. You could have been well served if he'd killed you. You'd have died like your father, too arrogant to believe you might have been mistaken in Black. Now get out of the way, or I will make you." "Get out of the way, Potter!" Harry made up his mind in a split second before Snape could take even one step towards him. He had raised his wand. "Expelliarmus," he said. Except that his wasn't the only voice that shouted. There was a blast that made the door rattle on his hinges.